before we start our actual discussion, Joseph, you don't need to look at that. You need to look at me. Okay, before we start our actual discussion, I just wanted to have you guys look up here for a second. Not at our robot from earlier.
Yeah.
But I wanted to give you some options for some sentence stems that we can use as we're discussing. Okay? So, one of those sentence stems that we can use is I'm connecting to
With
blank because
blank.
yes. So this might be if Joseph says something and I'm listening to Joseph, and I might, after he's done speaking, I might say, I'm connecting to Joseph because when he said this, that made me think of this. Okay? Another one we can use, which we've talked about before, is I'd like to add on to blank because very good. Okay? And another one that we can use, that we may not have to use, but another one that we can use is I would like to respectfully disagree with blank
because blank.
Okay?
Because
Now, does this mean that we have to use these? No, and we may end up not using them at all. But I just wanted to offer these to you as some potential things for us to sort of ground our conversation. Eliad, can you sit over here so we can make like a circle? Okay. So circle up. Okay. So I just want to remind you guys that during this process, I'm not really supposed to be doing very much. Okay? I might ask a follow-up question, or I might ask you to get involved. But generally speaking, you guys are going to be talking to each other. Okay? So here's the tendency. Here's what kids always do. Here's what you guys do. You turn and you look at me the whole time you're talking because you're used to talking to me. I want you guys to try to look at each other while you're talking. I'm sort of just observing. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's look at your first question that you answered based on the passage I had you read, the crow and the pitcher. Okay, so the first question is, what would be a better title for this story? So remember, we're not raising our hands, we're just having a conversation. So you guys are just going to figure out how to talk to each other. So whoever would like to start, please go ahead.
Okay, so my title.
Oh, so he's discussing it right now, so you need to be listening to him. We're having a whole group conversation.
So my title.
Can you speak up?
My title would be The Crow and the Problem with the Water in the Pitcher because look, the problem was with it because look, it was too low.
Hold this down a little bit so they can still see your face, okay? Okay.
Okay. I think this is a better title, The Smart Crow in the picture, because the crow had a smart idea to put the pebbles in the picture.
So my title was The Crow and the Giant Fish. Because he knows that the crow can't.
So our eyes should be on George right now.
What if the crow couldn't touch the water with the bowl? Wait, George, can you repeat your title?
Yeah, I need you guys to speak up a little bit.
So my title was The Crow and the Giant Pitcher. It's almost identical to Joseph's, except with no D.
Okay, so what was yours?
Smart Crow.
Smart crow. Okay, awesome. So right now, what I'm noticing, boys, is right now we're just like taking turns sharing ideas. We're not really having a conversation. So you know how when you have a conversation with your parents, does it literally go, okay, first mom's going to talk, then dad's going to talk, then Joseph's going to talk, then his sister's going to talk, right? Conversation just happens naturally. So let's try to make it more natural. So I'd just like to open up the discussion. So instead of answering a question, first I just want to open it up and say, what did you guys notice about this story? What were you wondering about in this story? We're not raising hands, we're just talking.
So I wondered, like,
Look at your roommates.
so what I was wondering about the story was how would the girl drink the water from the pitcher if it was so long?
So were you wondering that at the beginning of the story? Or at the end? Because remember, what did the crow choose to do so that it could drink the water?
Pebbles.
Yeah.
So that was the beginning.
Okay, so that's what you were wondering about at the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay. Mhm. What's up, Steven? There's a sign for that. Can you show me the sign? Can you show me the sign for restroom? We should know this by now. Maybe you can ask a friend.
I was wondering about why, like how did he get so thirsty?
How did he get so thirsty? Yeah.
What if it was a desert?
What time did you find it?
So, I was wondering what you guys thought the most important part of the story was. I'm not sure why we're raising our hands. We're just having a conversation.
What I thought was important was that he kept on trying.
He did think of an idea and one of them failed.
So what I hear you saying is that instead of him giving up and just succumbing and dying, right? He didn't give up and he kept thinking and he figured out a solution, right?
So what I thought was the most important part was that he thought of an idea because after so many tries, upon you thinking over and over and over again in the picture, he had to give up. But then finally, he had an idea, and then while he started putting a pebble in the pitcher, more. And then after the water started rising up towards him, he could drink the water.
So what does that make you think about the crow, like in terms of some adjectives? I'm not sure why you're raising your hand.
So what I think, like my adjective, I think it'd be like smart.
Encouraging. Can you explain why you chose that?
Because he's trying to get some water, but that's water.
So what about that is encouraging? Do you think he felt encouraged by the fact that he figured out an idea?
I think he was.
He was what? Do you need some more time to think? Parker, what do you think? I'm connecting with encouraging. I was thinking that the crow was very determined, because when I think of the word determined, I think about somebody who doesn't give up. Yeah.
Until you're 16.
Yeah. So I'm going to step out for a second, but I do want you guys to continue your conversation. So you guys can pick up with the next question if you'd like, but I'd like to just sort of observe and listen to you guys talk. So I'm going to step away. So you guys need to continue your conversation.
I got an idea.
Why do you think the family died? Why do you think
Can you guys speak up, please?
So I'm connecting with Parker because he like he keeps on trying. He's encouraging, determined, and he's trying, and he keeps on
Look at some other
trying.
people, not just me.
And he keeps on trying until he can drink the water from the pitcher.
I think the crow in the sentence is trying to succeed to get the water because he is really thirsty and he really wants the water, and because if he doesn't get any water he's gonna die. So he's trying to save his life before he dies.
What I think I'm going to add for that is that
Can we move on to another question? What would you guys like to discuss?
Because half of the thirst.
yeah, that's
What I think it means is half of him is dead because it has no water.
I'm going to respectfully disagree with you because I'm wondering how half of somebody can be dead.
Yeah, because basically they're all dead.
Right. So I'm wondering if anyone took a little bit more different interpretation, because you can't technically be half dead. You can't literally be half dead. But what does that mean? Half dead.
I respectfully disagree to you, Parker, also.
What are you thinking then?
I'm thinking that it means that you're going to die.
Okay. So if you're half dead, that means that you're going to die? Soon. Okay.
so what I think
You need to pay attention to the people who are talking. What do you mean? You only need a little more water? What? So if you're half dead with thirst, you only need a little water? Explain your thinking a little bit.
like I don't have enough water in your body.
Do you guys notice that I'm asking clarifying questions? I've heard you all do it throughout Word Wednesday and math. I need to hear you guys asking clarifying questions. Can you please join our circle?
What do you think?
Well, the same as Joseph.
He's asking you the question, so you should be looking at him.
Well, it's kind of like here as Joseph. Only that dying of thirst. Yeah, dying of thirst.
Dying of thirst is kind of like
So would you guys like to move on to the next question?
So I think that when she thirsts, because look, if I put in a sentence, it won't work.
So, because the sentence is, at last, he saw the water mount up near him, and after casting in a few more pebbles, he was able to quench his thirst and save his life. So, thirst his thirst. Because you said quench means thirst. So that doesn't necessarily make sense if you plug it back in. Does anybody respectfully disagree and have a different idea about what it might
I
mean?
respectfully disagree with Eliot because I think it means that if rolls up to him, he could get enough water to survive, like bending his neck to get the water. Because
So what do you think quench means then? Get enough.
like get enough.
I have a question. I'm wondering if you've ever seen the Gatorade commercials. Do you know what Gatorade is?
Yes.
I've had it.
Okay, so Gatorade's like a sports drink. So anytime I see the commercials, they always say Gatorade, quench your thirst. Yeah, what are you thinking? Save your thirst? You just said, what did you say you thought quench meant? Yeah. So if your thirst is quenched, your thirst has been reached. It's desired. It's there. It's like satisfied. What were you going to say?
I was going to say,
Great. Parker, what are you thinking about that word?
explain your thinking.
When you plug it back in, it makes sense.
Does it? He was able to beat his thirst and save a life. Now, when you say beat, do you mean like, what do you mean?
I mean,
Think, what do you mean? To what? So his thirst is gone. So he's no longer thirsty. So I'm really curious about what you guys think about this next question. What did you think the author meant at the end by little does the trick? I really want to hear you guys talk about this question.
I think it means like thinking does the trick.
What do you mean?
Like if you're thinking of an idea, you get an idea and it helps you do something.
Would anyone like to add on to what Joseph said?
So I'd like to ask Joseph by saying
Can you make sure you're facing your group members when you're speaking? And can you please sit and join us? Yeah. So little by little does the trick. So he didn't solve his problem right away by like chugging the water. He wasn't able to. But little by little, what did he do to solve his problem?
one thing at a time.
One thing at a time. He added one pebble at a time. And little by little, what started to happen?
It started rising.
The water was rising.
So one at a time.
So I'm wondering what you guys think the lesson was in the story. What can we learn from this story? Don't raise your hands. Just talk. What can we learn? Oh, so I'm hearing Parker. Go ahead.
Never give up.
What I think it means is don't give up no matter what.
if you put in objects
You think that's the lesson? So I'm going to respectfully disagree with you because the lesson isn't about if you put pebbles in water, it'll rise. What did our character learn? What do you think the character learned? Oh, I'm asking George, sorry. So you think he learned a literal lesson about things rising? Okay. Does anyone have a different thought? I know you guys both shared that you think it was more about like never give up. What was your thought?
So you gotta keep on trying until you succeed.
Mm-hmm.
Like don't give up, just keep on trying.
Great. You guys did a great job. Can you thank each other for your thoughtful conversations? Thank you. Thank each other.
Thank all of you.
Thank all of us.
You guys did a great job.
I actually have one more.
Okay, you guys can keep talking.
I know why this line is